What's going on, everybody? Mike Stadler here.
Carl Bethke with you.
The Obsession Podcast, back. 2023, Season 2, Episode 2.
Right on.
We got a question here from one of our listeners. He asked, what do we do to try to advance bucks on our property to the next age level, or the next year, basically, to get them through and try to get them to come back, I guess.
Trying to get them to come back.
Yeah, that's from Scott.
Scott. Well, to tell you the truth, Scott, obviously you want... This is actually when you collect bucks. Your property's already started it this year.
Yep.
I mean, we talked about it when I came in right away this morning.
Yep.
We are a little ticked off because at the beginning of the month, we were doing some work on the property and we found
Yep. Found a dead buck.
a dead buck. And he wasn't shot or anything like that, just so you guys know.
Yeah,
we think he got hit by a
So
car.
he got hit on the road, and his front shoulder was broke, no holes in him, but good 8-pointer. You know,
2.5.
2.5-year-old probably.
Yeah.
Not an expert on aging,
Yeah.
but guessing 2.5-year-old buck that we had seen quite a few times.
Yep.
Of course, after everything's done, he gets hit.
Right.
But that's a loss for us.
Yes.
So
And it's a big loss.
that's probably a deer that could be on the list next year.
Could have been.
So trying to get bucks through is tough. We hate winter anyway.
Yeah.
We never want this winter to be harsh. The harsher the winter, harder it is.
Yeah.
I think one big thing that we both have is winter food
Yes.
that we leave, which is, there's really only two, because snow covers everything else up.
Yeah.
So you either have to have corn or
Yeah.
you have to have standing beans.
Correct.
Is the only thing that's going to be up out of the snow.
Yep.
And that's two things that we do. We haven't had the beans for a while, which we talked about actually doing some beans this year.
Yep.
But we both have corn
Yeah.
that we plant specifically for the deer that stays all winter.
Yep.
Your corn's standing, my corn's still standing. It's
Yep.
January.
We leave it for multiple reasons. Number one, it does provide some cover from the wind, especially for my property there.
Yeah.
Mike's property is a little bit different here. His lays out really nice east-west. My whole hillside faces north.
Yeah.
So any thermal cover or side cover I could provide for the deer, that's a big deal for him.
Don't buy anything easy to hunt, Carl.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, but it's such a good spot.
It is.
Yeah. But, so that's one part of the corn for me. Obviously, the corn as food, carbohydrates for
Yep.
deer. We both have brassicas, but like Mike said, it's under the snow. They will dig it.
Yeah.
And Mike does a cool little trick. He plows his plots.
Yeah, I plow my bigger plots off with my tractor.
If we get a certain amount of snow.
Yeah, I mean, after a while, I couldn't do it, but,
Right.
I did it last year,
Yep.
do it this year again,
Yep.
and they're in there. They'll go
Oh, yeah.
because my saw cams are still up, and
Yeah.
get them down there where there's very minimal digging, and a lot of it is no digging.
Well, heck, last year you plowed it that night. They were in there eating it.
That night I think I had 8 deer on that camera all of a sudden. There wasn't a deer in that field
Yeah.
the night before because there was too much snow. It's too much work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work for them.
Well, anytime they have to exert energy,
It's more they got to eat too.
yeah, and it's hard on their body, especially in the cold.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's number one, is having the food on your property, I think, to, retain the deer, let them know that the food is there. And if you can retain food all year, guess what? You're going to have a certain amount of does that stay. You're also going to have, if the bucks recognize this, bucks will leave and they'll come back, but when it comes to this time of year, this is when you're collecting bucks. And like we started earlier, you've already collected 2 bucks that we know of.
Yep.
You just got pictures of them. We looked at them from last night,
Yep.
but they've been here a couple days. And this is a good thing because we're talking small properties. Both of our properties are not big. Mine's 72, yours is 40. And whenever you can collect an animal from any of the surrounding areas, you're winning.
Yep.
So that's a real big deal for us. The other part is providing good bedding, or like we were just talking, thermal cover and side cover. So Mike can talk about what he's done on his property. I'll talk about what I've done on my property. And then obviously throughout this year on our small property preps and layout, you're going to see what I'm going to do here to actually help my bedding cover. Now I have bedding cover on my property, and it's pretty thick, but we need to make some changes to help the organization of bedding to food on my property, basically pulling the does closer to the food, allowing more space for bucks. I think that's where I made the mistake this year, because my does were bedding deeper than I wanted them to. The one side they were good, but the other side they were bedding too deep, and the bucks were on the neighbors.
Yep.
That needs to change, and I think that's probably what you noticed too.
Yep.
Now on Mike's property, I'll let Mike talk about what he's done already, because this property here is laid out awesome for bedding and thermal cover, and Mike will be able to talk about
Yeah,
that.
well, we did, several years ago now, we did a lot of bedding improvements, specifically, that's all we did.
Yeah.
TSI and hinge cutting. And what we did in my biggest bedding area, which is around 7.5 to 8 acres-ish, that we never go in. And it is on, the majority of that bedding area is on the north side of the ridge. So, north side of the ridge, it's gonna be colder, you're gonna get your winds, stuff like that. So, we dropped trees specifically, for blockage and to make deer travel the way we wanted them to travel also. Which is going to be your normal bedding. That's just what that is.
Yeah.
And it blocks, any west winds, anything like that, now doesn't affect any of that. So your northwest winds don't affect that bedding area as much. And they're in there. And they stay in that bedding area thick.
Yes.
Like you go in there, like this time right now, if you walked over that ridge, you're going to jump a bunch of deer out of that bedding. They're going to be laying in there.
We were in there the other day, and they were running into.
Yeah, they came running at us.
Yeah. Almost run us over.
Run right into the bedding, and then they stop and stay.
Yeah.
The thermal cover that Carl talks about, I do with pine trees.
Yeah.
Bigger pine trees now. I have my younger ones are coming up.
Yeah.
But we planted now, I don't even know how many we've got now, probably 75 maybe-ish.
Yeah.
Right now, 8 to 10 foot tall already pine trees that we planted. We planted them at that size. For blocking, for structure, and we've started to make a wall basically around the one bedding area.
Yeah.
So that when all the leaves and all the brush come down, we still have those pine trees to protect. And also protect in and out, move it for us.
Yes.
Late season.
Yeah. And these trees, those pines that, when Mike's talking about in and out for us, it also provides side cover for them, so they feel comfortable too.
Yeah.
But it also gives us the chance to get in and out. And these are, like Mike said, 6 to 8, 6 to 10 foot trees in the woods, so they're not going to grow height wise a lot, but they will continually grow.
Yeah.
And then sooner or later, you have that 20 foot tall all the way to the ground base.
Yep.
And they're staggered, so you're providing a really good structure.
Yep.
1 for the rut, 2 for side cover and thermal cover.
Yeah, we're going in, we did our first plant last year in the woods actually. And we redesigned what we're gonna do down there, which you'll see.
Oh yeah.
And we're gonna be staggering a bunch more pines in and out of there. And some real strategically placed spots, which I think is going to be pretty cool. Obviously, we'll show, but to make deer move where we want them to.
Yeah.
Also to give them security around some of our water.
Yep.
Stuff like that. That's another big thing. Carl, they planted a lot of pine trees at his property this last year. He does have pine trees anyway.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
I didn't have any here, really. I had
No,
some
you
jack
brought
pines.
everything you've got. You brought in.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
brought them in. So, obviously his property is set up different, but that's another way. Bedding, we're saying you got to have that, and the colder it gets, they want to be close to that food.
Well, deer know that wind kills them, Mike. That's the big thing. They will not. Especially when it gets really cold out here.
They don't want to be in it.
Yeah. They can't be. They'll freeze to death.
Yep.
Their body loses. If they're laying there using more energy than they actually took in, they're losing weight.
Yep.
And the more fat that they lose off their body, because we all know, you get them right after, this time of year, earlier, a little bit earlier, they're all heavy, You know, except for the bucks because they ran all their fat off during the rut. And that's, you know, we're all trying to protect our bucks as much as possible. Thermal cover comes into a big deal there. And food, obviously. All this is really, really important. And that being said, the more side cover that you have on your property to protect them from the wind, the better off you'll be for attracting deer also. Mike's spot here, dude, I think you own the only major hill in the entire county.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because I can see your hill from like 7 miles away.
I've been told it's the highest spot in the county.
I believe that.
So it might be. It feels like it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll tell you that. Yeah, so it gets wind.
Yeah.
You know, and so yeah, we've built it to protect the deer. You know, and we're doing more and more. And you know, the trees are a big thing. Mm-hmm. They're a huge investment.
Yeah.
They're a lot of work. You know, you've seen, if you watched any of our stuff last year, you've seen us planting those big trees, and they are a handful.
Yeah.
You know, those trees are 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Sometimes
it takes a lot of work and effort to put those trees in.
So I mean, that's another way. You know, your bedding has to be right.
Yeah.
You know, which we've done a lot here.
Yeah.
We need to do some more at yours.
Oh yeah, mine needs a lot this year. We're talking, you know, like you guys asked, you know, protecting our bucks. For us, I think we have to have the deer on our property to protect them, right? I mean, my neighbors down by me, most of them are pretty good, you know, but I don't see them doing the work that we do.
Oh.
You know, they're like, well, you know, the bucks are here during the rut. And I can shoot deer, or during gun season, because I got a lot of gun hunters around me, and that's fine and dandy. But if we want to continue to have a really good herd down there, I've got terrain that helps protect deer anyway. Mm-hmm. But if you want them on your property to protect them and actually let them know, hey, this is a safe place for you to be during the right time of year, when we want to be able to hunt them. You need to collect those bucks now, and to do that, you have to have everything we just talked about: thermal cover, food, all of that. So, and we will progress throughout the year, showing how we're improving mine. Yours is really good, but we're still going to improve those things.
Never good enough.
Never good enough. Now remember this too. The other thing I want to say is, don't ever try to improve 100% of your property if you've got a small property. Because if your property is totally improved, in other words, every square inch of your property is set up for deer, then you've got no entrance or exit. And you can't do that. If you have to have your entrance and exit routes, and then your deer spots. Mm-hmm. You know, and a lot of people will look at a property and they think that they have to have the center of the property is a no go zone. You know. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad.
Yeah.
So you have to assess the property.
Yeah, every property's gonna be different.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta, you know, the biggest thing is decide what you wanna do.
Yeah.
You know, if you wanna get bucks through, but you know, we say this a million times.
Slave
your neighbors. You know, and you know, we had a lot of good bucks here this year. We lost all of them. Every one of them got shot.
That is true.
That I had on camera. And then one got hit on the road. Mm-hmm. You know, we've had some straggle back in, some new ones. So hopefully, you know, we have a couple good ones next year. But you know, it's a whole nother subject. But it is hard. You know, your ideal perfect unicorn property is, you know, all your neighbors want to do exactly what you want to do, and they hold to it.
Yep.
You know, and I'm not saying that I have bad neighbors. They're good bucks, and anybody's going to shoot them.
Right.
So it's going to happen, you know, and you have to take that into account, and you just have to try to make it attractive enough mm-hmm. to pull deer back into it, because deer are going to get killed. Now, you know, my property here, we took one buck.
We did.
The one I shot. That was it.
Took one buck. Yeah.
5 of them are dead.
Yeah.
So, in theory, we lost $5.
Yeah.
In our eyes.
Right. From the deer that we've seen over the summertime, yeah. That's 100% correct.
So, you know, we took one, we lost 5. That I know.
Yeah.
So.
Recently gained back 2.
Yeah, and gained back 2.
So
You
we're
know,
still down 3.
and had a few make it
Yeah,
that were here, so
that'll be good.
we'll probably be okay. But you just got to try to do the things that are going to keep them on your property. And the same thing with Carl's property. The Carl's property is different than mine because the property around Carl's property is the same as Carl's property,
Yeah,
terrain wise, and so we have to make it, pretty
right.
to the deer. What's going to bring the deer over here that this doesn't have? Because if other people aren't doing work around you, awesome.
Right.
Because now you have the control of doing what you want to do with it.
I have noticed, and this is just on my property, I have noticed that my neighbors have paid attention. And I know you've seen it.
Yep.
And more power to them. Because all this does is make it better for all of us.
Yeah.
I was the one that went in there very first year about the property, I put food plots in. How many big deer did we see?
Oh yeah.
It was
They're
freaking
like,
crazy.
They're like, what's this? It was nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they'd never had it before.
And big deer.
Yeah.
And then last year, I noticed, hey, the neighbors kind of kid according to me. Oh, they got winter rye.
Yeah.
Put a winter rye.
There was
on
some
it.
good deer last year too.
Oh yeah. And so this year we added even more, some thermal cover, some other stuff. I mean, last year I didn't put in big trees like Mike's because, multiple reasons. Number one, I couldn't afford to put them in at the time. Trees like Mike's are pretty expensive. Mike got a really good deal when he bought his.
Yep.
And this year I'll probably put some 6-footers in, but they're expensive. That being said, I'm probably only going to put 10. But I know where I'm going to put those 10.
Yep.
So, anyway, so the neighbors again noticed, hey, all of a sudden he's doing this or he's doing that. Comes to this year, now my neighbor to my west kept his corn up the entire gun season.
Yep.
Now I don't even know if it's down now, dude, because I haven't gone down there and looked.
Right.
But I'll be interested to see because
Huge green food plot
yeah,
on the backside of your ridge.
yes. So the property
Huge.
behind me was I mean huge.
It's a big plot.
Yeah, that's acres
Yeah, it's an acre.
of brassicas.
Yes.
And it was actually bought and purchased by this company, and I'm not going to say a name, but they own, I want to say 2,000 acres out there. They're buying up all this property, and I'm assuming it's for gun hunting. They guide people and stuff like
Yep.
that. So they've put in all this other stuff, and it's making the hunting better. But you have to realize if they're a guide service, you're losing that many more
Yeah,
deer.
you're gonna lose deer.
So what do we have to do with a small property to make it better for them? And
Yep.
that's what we're trying to do is pull
Yep.
those in there, and that's why we do all the improvements that we do. Not that they're not going to do improvements on their properties, but in the long run, if everybody's doing it, it makes your hunting that much better.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're probably trying to say. That's what we do: food, cover, thermal cover, to try and collect bucks this time of year.
Yep.
And that's pretty much the layout for all of it.
Yeah, it's really at that point on a small property, it's really a hope. You just hope that
Yeah.
they make it through. You're not gonna make them do anything.
No. If you got 1,000 acres, it's different.
Yeah.
500 acres, something like
Yeah,
that.
it's different.
Even 100-acre property is a small property, guys. 120, 200, 240 is getting to be pretty big, where I think you probably hold a fair amount of deer on it. But they're still going to go off the
Yeah,
edges.
they're still gonna go off. We'd love to have that much.
Oh yeah, we know.
The only thing you can really do is if do it like we said, we talked about here, or you can get on the same page with your neighbors
Yeah,
and they want to do the same thing, and you can sit down as a group and say, hey, this is what we all want to do. So if
And
you can do that,
yeah,
then
great.
you're winning. Everybody's winning. Maybe there's years you don't shoot some deer, but it's gonna come.
Yeah, and if somebody doesn't want to do it, don't hold them against it.
Yeah.
They pay their taxes too. Let them do their own thing.
Yeah,
That's
it is what
fine.
it is.
Be cordial to everybody about it. That's the one thing I want to, that we, you should say is, just, if Mike and I are neighbors, and he sees it one way and I see it another way, doesn't mean we can't confer with each other and talk about the deer we're seeing. Just means we have different goals.
Yeah.
So, the other part about that too, and I'll be honest with you guys, small properties, like Mike said, it's hard to hold or get deer on the property. Right now is when you're letting them know, hey, I'm here, this is a good place for you to be, type time. That being said, I don't expect to see those deer all the time back on my property in the fall. If it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, I'm not all cranked up about it, because I'm going to hunt the top 10% of the bucks that are on my property, because that's what I've got.
Yep.
And we say that all the time
That's
too.
what we hunt. We talked about that last year, you know. No, that is what we hunt.
Yes.
Whether that be, if it's a 3.5-year-old age class buck,
Yeah.
and that's what we have on the property, that's what we're hunting.
Yeah.
Like, everybody wants a big deer, so we do.
Right.
But if that's what we have, we're going to hunt that deer.
Yep.
100%, every time, that's what we're going to go after.
Yeah.
You know, if they're older, great. They're not, is what it is.
Correct.
Maybe next year they will be. But we're going to try to put down a good deer, and that's what we're going to hunt.
100%. So thanks for listening to the podcast. We appreciate the question, Scott. Hopefully that answered your question. That's what we do, how we're going to think about things, and how we approach setting up our properties for late season deer or deer in the off season. And hopefully we can collect a few. If you get a chance, subscribe to the channel here in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Just hit the Reaper here on YouTube. We appreciate that for all you guys that watch us on YouTube. For anybody that listens to our podcast, it's Google Podcasts, Under the Obsession, Apple Podcasts, Under the Obsession, Spotify, Under the Obsession, and iHeartRadio, Under the Obsession.
RSS.
The RSS.com is our main feed. You guys can go on there, get a subscription with RSS, and just punch in The Obsession, and the podcast comes up. There's going to be like 60 some episodes now. So we appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for the question.
Out.